All right, thanks. So basically, this introduction PPT is just about, or presentation is about, what is this course about? What can you expect from this course? What is exactly are we going to cover in this? And also what equipments we are going to use, how the exactly the labs will be delivered, and what will be the way that we are going to conduct the classes, and in case if you have any questions, how does it that go, and how do you practice the practicals, and then we'll also have some questions answered at the end, right? So first of all, let's start with the CCNP itself. So what exactly do we have in CCNP now? Because Cisco has changed it so many times before as well. Earlier, it used to be route, switch, and T-shoot, three different certifications, three different exams. And if you do those, then you become CCNP, right? But now it has been changed for quite a time, quite a while. So now you see that if we see the CCNP track, they have done it in a way that you just need to pass two exams instead of three exams. So first thing you will see that CCNL is now common for all of them. So you can see associate level, you just do Cisco certified CCNA. And for to be honest, for CCNP now we don't even need CCNA. So you can directly do the CCNP, and you will not need to do actually CCNA to get your CCNP or make your CCNP active. So talking about CCNP or Cisco Certified Networking Professional, there are two exams now that you need to pass. One is called the core exam, and one is called one of the concentration exams. So the core exam is always called core, and depending on which track you are, there are different names. Like for enterprise networking, you will see it is enterprise infrastructure, which is used to be called routing and switching. It is called N core exam. And then the concentration exam, you will see it will be one of the things that you decide to do. For example, you can use the implementing Cisco Enterprise Advanced Routing and Services, or NRC, or you can use designing wireless networks, or implementing wireless networks, or designing in Cisco Enterprise Networks, so more design centric solution, or SD-WAN in-depth solution, or automation and programming solution. So you can see that there are different electives which are called the concentration exam. So you don't need to pass all of them. You just need to pass one of them. And of course, you need to pass the core exam, right? So one technology core exam and one concentration exam. And the thing is that you can do this in any order. It's not like that you have to pass the core exam first. As a matter of fact, when we are starting with the elective or the concentration exam NRC, implementing Cisco Enterprise Advanced Routing and Services. And the reason is because if you are coming here from CCNA after passing CCNA, or if you are coming here without any certification and just want to get started with CCNP, NRC is actually the great thing to start, or great place to start, because it covers the core routing and some of the routing based services, right? So what happens is that when you are doing these core routing and routing based services, we are going into the in depth of the concepts of routing protocols, and then services like IP, SLA, or the conceptual knowledge of the different security aspect of the routers. Then it gives you a lot of confidence into the core technologies, or the base technologies of infrastructure. And then you go to the N core, which is, to be honest, has a little bit of switching and routing, but then it actually also covers some advanced topics like SD-WAN basics, SDA basics, automation and programmability, wireless basics. So although you can see that there are a concentration exam for the details of those as well, like in-depth wireless or SD-WAN, but in Encore there are some basic idea about those things as well. So you can call it newer technologies or advanced technologies. So that's actually a great point to do before going for CCIE. So once you pass your Encore exam anyway, that is also the qualification exam for CCIE. So you can directly book the CCIE lab after you pass the Encore exam, or you can also do it anytime within the next 3 years, because your Encore exam will be valid for 3 years. So that's also the reason why we are starting with NRC, and then later we will go to the Encore, and then this course also continues to the CCIE. So you see that that's the natural progression, which makes sense if you are coming from CCNA, or if you are coming from scratch, you want to start with a CCNP. NRC is actually the better idea because that's the traditional routing and services technologies, right? And of course, as I mentioned, that the core exam also is the qualification exam for CCI. So earlier, what used to happen, you had to pass the CCNP three different certifications or three different exams if you want to get the CCNP certification. And then CCI was a completely different thing. You want to do CCI, there was a dedicated written exam, multiple choice question exam for CCI, used to be called CCI Qual. And then you can book the CCI lab, and you have to do it within the 1.5 year after you had to do it within the 1.5 year after passing the CCI Qual exam. Now, when you are preparing for your CCNP, you are already also getting qualified to book the CCI lab as well. Because as soon as you pass the core exam of the CCNP, like NCore, you will be able to go to the CCI portal and you will be able to look at the slots where the dates are available anytime in the next 3 years. So you can actually book the lab now. You are eligible to book the CCI lab. Of course, you have to prepare for the CCI lab and everything, but you don't need to pay extra for one more exam like CCI qualification exam it used to have before. That's another benefit. Having said that, if you have CCNA, that actually helps because when you prepare for CCNA, you are learning some things, and those things can help you in CCNP as well. Same thing if you go through CCNP topics, that will help you in CCI. But technically, you don't need CCNA to become CCNP, or you don't need CCNP certificate to become CCI. So even if you decide, if your end goal is CCI, and you decide that I don't want to take the CCNP certification, I just want to gain knowledge and practice and some hands-on, then you can do that as well. But the problem is that at least one exam you will have to pass, which is the ANCOR exam, before you will be able to book the CCI exam, right? And that's why might as well do the NRC as well, and then you can get the CCNP certification as well. That's the reason why people always go with CCNP as well now, and going before the CCI. So this is the basic infrastructure, basic structure of the CCNP track. But what about this course? How exactly this course is going to help you, and what exactly are you going to cover in this course? So you'll see that it's a complete program because it covers both core and the concentration exams, right? So of course we will start with the concentration exam, NRC, but it also later it covers NCore as well if you have opted for that as well. So these are all those separate OVAs. You will see I will send you separate OVA files for VMware, separate topologies, but you will see everything will be provided by us. You just need to make sure that you join the sessions and you do the practice lab, right? So the concentration exam is NRC version 1.1 is the latest version currently going on, and it has the exam code 300-410. And this is how we will start with the NRC, right? And later, if you have opted in, then you will also go to the core, which is the CCNP and core version 1.1, which has the exam code 350-401. Right. So the program that we have, now let's talk about this program. It's called Zero to CCNP. We will start with the Zero to CCNP NRC. So we will cover one core exam, which also works as a CCI qualification exam, and one elective exam. Although it should be actually NCore, not, there is no E in the NCore. But NCore and NRC, one core and one elective exam. And you need to pass both to become CCNP, right? Now, Anchor is the implementing the Cisco Enterprise Network Core Technologies, and NRC is the Enterprise Advanced Routing and Services. So you will see that NRC covers in-depth routing and some IP services. Encore, on the other hand, covers the basics of routing and switching, and a little bit information about the newer technology as well, like SD-WAN, wireless, automation, programmability. So Encore is not so much in depth into other different topics because again, this is not concentration. That's why the elective exam is called concentration exam, because we concentrate on few topics and we go more detail. But Encore, you need to have basic knowledge or broad knowledge of many different topics, right? Before you go for the CCI exam. So that's why Encore has many different things. And that's why we start with NRC and then we go for the Encore. So in our course, you will see we will send you separate OVS for both. Like we have started with NRC. I have sent you guys the OVA for NRC, and that OVA you can import into the VMware, and you will see there are different topologies that we can use for different OVAs. And for our NRC, you will see that the topology we have in OVA is this topology, where we'll be using 9 different routers in this particular manner, and all the technologies that we are going to cover, which I'm going to go through in few minutes, those technologies will be covered using this particular topology. The reason I'm sticking to one topology is because it's not a design exam. We don't need to go through multiple different designs. The more familiar we are with that particular topology is better for our hands-on experience, so that we can concentrate more on the protocol that we are learning or the service that we are learning, instead of learning a new topology or what IP addressing are we using now, or what connections are we using now. Instead, we stick to one topology, but we keep on changing, of course, the technology that we are going to learn over this. Now, let's talk about the course structure for this course, Zero to CCNP. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is just the introduction week. So we had only one section today, but from next week onward, it is going to be 2 times a week, and it will be 2 hours per session. So it could be sometime 1.5 hours, sometime it can go more than 2 hours as well, because as I always say in my classes, that these are topic driven classes, not the time driven. So depends on the topic. Sometimes it can be done early, sometimes it can take slightly more time. But roughly you will see the session is 2 hours um, for every live Zoom session. And the classes that we have, I have sent you the detail in the email as well. It is going to be Friday and Saturday evening, at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I think in November, the daylight saving time changed. So that time before that, I will inform you that because we are doing it from Bangkok, where the time doesn't change. So how the time change will happen and what will happen, that information will be sent that time, right? So currently for next month, it will be same. And we are going to do in these 2 hours is it's a live Zoom session with me explaining concepts and showing lab configuration. So the structure will be that I'll start a particular topic. Let's say we are starting OSPF. So I will start from scratch. So although you might have done CCNA and you know a little bit of OSPF here and there, you know some basic idea about it, or maybe you have done it already before. Maybe you prepared for CCNP before as well. But I am not going to assume anything. I'm going to start from scratch, and we will go all the way to the required level for CCNP and a little bit more as well, so that you feel confident about the technology. And to back it up, we will have the hands-on, means we will have the lab for every topic we are going to cover. So I am going to explain you the lab as well. So I'll explain you the topic, and then we will go through the lab together. I will together means you just need to watch in the video. I'll just go through the lab explaining you what they're asking and how to solve it, because the lab is not a test. So you don't need to do it from your memory or to remember everything from the session, and you should not be able to. You are not expected to be able to do the complete lab immediately. Uh, while you are doing the lab, that's also the learning time. You have to change your mindset that I'm still learning when I'm doing the lab as well. So it's not that I need to remember everything. It's that I need to do the lab. The practice will actually solidify my understanding. And that's why when I'm teaching you, let's say DMVPN or MPLS or EIGRP, I'm going to go through the in-depth theory, and then the lab also, I will go step by step explaining you every point and configuring in front of you in this class. So that when I send you the lab after the class, you will have the whole week to practice yourself as well with the same lab. Again, not for testing yourself, but to just solidify your understanding and become comfortable with the technology. That's the reason why we have so many different hands-on labs. So that's why it will be roughly 1 hour of the topic discussion, means the theory, and then roughly 1 hour will be the lab on the same topic, right? So theory, don't worry, we are not going to just when I say topic discussion, it doesn't mean just talking about the basics. We are going to go into the required depth of CCNP level and a little bit more as well. You'll see into a particular topic that we are going to touch. And every week you will see there will be a practical lab, and every week after completing the theory, I will do the lab and I will send you the lab after the class is finished as well. Right. So that's what it is. It says here that lab PDF will be sent after the session along with the solution file. And that's the very reason why I'm sending you the solution file as well. Because again, it's not a test. So if you get stuck somewhere while doing the lab, feel free to go and check the solution file as many times as you want, because you're still trying to remember things and understand how the things are working and why the thing works the way they are working, right? That's why I always call it, it's a completely hands-on approach. And the topologies that we use for this are EVNG based topologies with multiple routers and switches. EVNG is an emulation software which allows you to emulate routers and switches and other networking devices like SD-WAN devices. Emulation is different from simulation, right? In simulation, you are pretending to be a software, some other software. For example, Cisco's packet tracer. When you are using that, you are not actually using the devices on actual operating system. They have created the whole program which actually mimics the iOS. On the other hand, EVNG is just an emulator, means you need the real iOS images that you need to import into the EVNG. It's a Linux server basically, and then after importing it, you need to actually license them, and then you will be able to use them. And when you use them in the software, then the backend, the iOS is still the real operating system of a router or a switch. So you get all the features and functions that you will get into a real router or switch. That's why it is called an emulator. And there's a whole learning curve for UNG also. For example, you have to download the correct version, and then you have to set up the connectivity to your host. Then you have to find the iOS images from somewhere. You have to copy them to a correct folder. Then you have to license them inside the Linux correctly, and then only you can open the browser and start using them. And even then, you don't have the topology. You will have to actually connect the devices to each other, thinking how I connect it better in a way that I can practice all the things that I need to learn. So there's a whole learning curve and a lot of headache if you do EVNG on your own. And we wanted to remove that from your site, because we wanted you to concentrate on the CCNP topics right from the day one. That's why we created the OVA file that I sent you. That OVA file actually is a combination of everything. It is a composite file where when you import it into VMware, you will get a fully functioning EVNG software where all the iOSs are imported, licenses are properly arranged for them. You can directly boot that. You will see an IP address will be assigned to it. Then you can open this into the browser, and there you will see this topology also pre-built with the IP addressing pre-configured. So we can directly concentrate on the routing and services and automation and programmability, all these topics depending on which exam we are preparing for, right? So that way you don't have to worry about the setting up of the EVNG, but you will get all the benefits of EVNG in this course, and without any headache of setting it up, right? And the biggest benefit you will get is that these classes or these sessions are recorded, so you are going to get the lifetime access to the recordings as well. Might not be from this class, maybe from one of the previous class, but if it is the same NRC class, you will get the same content. And roughly the code concept will be same. So this is a big advantage you get here, because now let's say if you someday miss a class, you can always watch the recording. And not only that, maybe you want to watch it again. Maybe we learn something, let's say MPLS or DMVP or QoS, and you say, okay, that was very interesting. I want to go through it again before I do the lab. So you will be able to watch the recording as many times as you want. And then, of course, you will get the lab PDF and the solution file. So now you see you have a perfect setup now. You have EVNG with the working routers and switches, and you have the PDF which is telling you what to do in the lab, and a solution file which shows you the solution. And if you don't understand something in that lab file, you think, okay, I need a little bit more understanding of this particular thing, you can go back and watch the recording as well. Even after all these things, if you think, okay, I still need a little bit more explanation of on some point, I need a little bit, I have a question about this. We have a Facebook group. So in this Facebook group, it's like a community of all our students, and there you can actually ask a question. You can actually print out take the screenshots of the problem, also paste it there, ask the detailed questions. And what will happen with that is that I will answer there. And if there are other students who already know about that or they already faced that issue before, maybe they can also answer you right there. So it's a great community, and maybe there are some other students facing the same issue. So they will see your question and they will see the answer, so that will benefit them as well. So I always encourage, if you have any questions, you can definitely ask me within the session, at the end of the session. But let's say during the week when we don't have a session, that time if you have a question, you can definitely ask on the Facebook group. That's the best place to ask the questions. Second place where you can ask the question is, in case if you don't have Facebook or some reason you do not want to use Facebook, then when you watch the recordings, because these are on our portal, Zero to CCNP portal. So if you are watching the recording, you will see that below every recording there is a comment section where you can actually also ask the question, and that question will come directly to me, and I will be answering that question for you, right? So either of these two methods you can use. Avoid using the email for questions, because generally we don't monitor the email for questions. We just use it to send the labs. So you might get the delayed answer there, or might not even get the answer if I miss the email. So it's better to use the Facebook or the comment section of the recorded sessions, right? There you can get the answer. But of course, we have the Q&A in every live session as well. At the end of the structure and the end of the topic. So if you have any questions regarding that topic or a topic from the previous week, you can ask there as well. But if it's a more detailed question where you need to show me the configuration or some screenshots, it's better to ask on the Facebook or in the comment section of the recorded video. There you can get more time to actually articulate your issues and elaborate on the issue, right? So what makes this course unique? So one thing you will see that there are many bootcamp kind of courses for CCNP as well, where they can complete the whole CCNP in 5 days or 1 week. But we wanted to make sure that we don't just teach you what is there into the exam and be done with it with the minimum practicals. We wanted to make sure that we take our time, we give you some breathing space also. We cover something very in depth and then give you some time to rewatch it, do the labs. And to be honest, we are giving you way more labs than you need for the CCNP exam, because in CCNP you will have some simulations here and there, but not so many as we are going to give you. Why? Because we want to make sure that you become very comfortable with the technology. Let's say if we are talking about EIGRP, even if I teach you all the theory, but if you don't do the hands-on, you will not feel comfortable with EIGRP. But if you do a couple of labs where you have to do different scenarios, you will feel a much more confident person in EIGRP comparing to before. And then the theory also will make more sense if you go back and watch it, right? So the core strength of this course is that there are live Zoom sessions, first of all, with me to cover in-depth concepts in the simplest way possible. So I have been a trainer for more than 16 years. And although it's a cliche, but training is my passion. I really love to explain concepts and configure and troubleshoot. So this actually makes a very enjoyable thing. And also, I strongly believe that the difficult thing is only the thing that you do not understand. So if you can understand, or if you can explain something in the easier way or the logical way to someone with a particular structure, like what is this, why do we use it, and how to configure it. If you have what, why, and how answered, I think most of the technologies can be easily learned. So that is the structure that I follow. And of course, we have practice labs for every topic to not only solidify your understanding of the topic, but also to become comfortable with the CLI and comfortable with that particular technology. That's what I was talking about, that you have way more practicals or hands-on in this course than you actually need for CCNP. So you can call it CCNP plus kind of course as well, right? And we will have Q&A sections to clear any doubts. So after the session, every week after the particular topic, we will open the mic again, and then you can ask me any questions, smaller questions. But if you have more detailed question, of course, you can ask on the forum or under the recorded video if it needs more elaboration, right? There will be a detailed solution file for the practice lab. I will send you every week as well. Like, let's say if I'm sending you a lab for access control list or security configuration or control plane policing, I will not only send you the instruction, do this, do this, do this, but then there will be a solution file which will exactly do that thing or configuration that you need to do there. So you can quickly check and see if you got stuck somewhere. You can always refer to this file. And of course, all the necessary software for practice labs with pre-setup topology. This is one of the big advantage of this course is that you get the EVNG OVA, which is pre-compiled with everything, licenses and iOSs and the topologies. So you can directly get started from day one. And of course, throughout the course, you will see that troubleshooting tips will also be given. Troubleshooting is something which I firmly believe depends on your foundational knowledge. For example, if you know exactly how the OSPF neighborship is formed, what are the content of a hello message that is exchanged between two OSPF routers, then if they are not becoming if they are not becoming neighbors and you have to troubleshoot it, you know where to look for, because you know exactly what things need to exactly match, what things must be unique, and then you can quickly check those things, right? So troubleshooting really depends on your core knowledge of the technology, and that's what we are going to make sure that we go through. Also, the recordings that you will see, you will be able to watch. The access is lifetime. So there are two benefits of this. Sometimes we get stuck somewhere for a longer period of time. So let's say if you come back later, maybe after 6 months or a year, you will still have the access to all the recordings, so you can start anytime again. Second benefit is that in future, if there is a update in CCNP structure, new topics will be added or something, and we are going to update in our training courses. So those new recordings or extra topics or added information will be added to the CCNP portal as well. That means you will get the access to them automatically. You don't need to pay anything extra for any changes in future, or you don't need to request anything. It will be available to you for lifetime, right? So the tools used, as I mentioned earlier, we use VMware and we use EVNG on VMware. So EVNG is the Linux Ubuntu software, Ubuntu Linux operating system, which actually is running the emulation for running all these routers and switches and devices, like in a virtualized manner. So you will see that the topologies are already set in EVNG. When you open the EVNG software, the topologies will already be there. And as a matter of fact, I can show you. So when you boot EVNG after importing it into SD-WAN, you will see that it will look something like this. When you when you import OVA into VMware and then you boot it first time, it should come up to this page. So you see it's a login page. And what is the login here? The login you can see is the information is right there into the very first line. Default username is root and default password is EU from the EVNG. But you don't need to log in here because it's the Linux Ubuntu console, right? For the EVNG. We don't need to go there. What we need to do is we need to start using routers and switches, and that is done completely based on the browser, right? So for example, you can see that it shows you an IP address here, 192.168.79.155. And then you just need to notice this and open this into a browser. So let's say if I go to the browser and I open 192.168.79.155. This you will see is the web interface of EVNG. And here the username and password is not same as the CLI. So here you will have the username admin and password is EU from EVNG or EVE, right? When you press enter, you will see that it will show you the particular files here, right? So just to give you an example that these are different topologies that you can use for different functions, right? So you can use them. So similarly, like this one is for actually Encore, not for NRC. So it has a slightly different topology, but you can see when you click on a particular lab or topology like routing, and then you click on open here, it will show you exactly what the topology is, and then you can go to more action and start all nodes and start using it. So you will see that one of the first video into the portal would be about how to set up EVNG and what are the basic concept of EVNG. Like basic, I already told you, you import OVA, you boot the device, and then you see an IP address here, which you open, and then you can open the topology. But how do you boot the router? How do you stop the router? How do you save the configuration? How do you reset the configuration to the base configuration? Again, all these things I have explained you into that EVNG video. So definitely that video will be worth watching or worth looking at, right? All right, I see a question here. Can we get all the labs in advance? Can we create on our own lab? What is the difference between EVNG versus CML? Yeah. So, okay. So basically, EVNG is also an emulator. So you can use CML as well. But to be honest, I personally haven't used CML. There is viral also from Cisco. But the good thing about EVNG is that it's very stable, and it's actually free of cost. The community edition is free, so you can use it to emulate as many devices as you can want, as you want to create. And to answer your question, can we create our own lab? Absolutely, you can create your own labs as well. You can simply do a drag and drop of new devices, or right click on the portal, and then you can create new devices from there. I can send you the link of EVNG tutorial, where they explain you how exactly you can set it up. But to be honest, for this particular course, you don't need to create your own labs, because everything that we are going to cover, and the lab that I'm going to send you, that lab will depend on the topology which is pre-built uh, into the EVNG by me. So you have to do it on that. But if you want to create your own couple of routers, few routers, spin up some switches, and want to check something on your own, not from the practice lab, then of course you can do that as well. So it's actually very straightforward, and in the EVNG video you will see how exactly you can do that as well, right? So you can definitely do that. To answer your excuse me, to answer your question, can we get all the labs in advance? This is something actually should not be an issue. But let me discuss with Christian also about this, because generally what happens is that we send the labs every week. Every week, what we cover, we are going to send the lab regarding that. But this is something I can discuss to Christian and get back to you. So, can you recommend books for CCNP certification? So, uh, to be honest, this course that we are going to do is going to be very in depth, covering everything that is there into the syllabus. So, this will be actually more than sufficient for your technology preparation. But then I would always recommend that Cisco Press books are always good if you want a little bit written recommendation as well, apart from the training. So any Cisco Press book would be good. And also, once you are done with the course and you want to go for the exam, always go through some practice questions, because it's not about cramming anything, or it's not about trying to remember dumps or anything. The idea of going through the practice questions, the exam like questions before going for the exam, is because it's a multiple choice question exam, right? It's an MCQ exam. So you need to make sure that you are familiar with the structure, that how does this ask question, how it is structurized, and you just have to have that practice as well. The knowledge you will already have from this course, so the foundational knowledge will be there, and you will have an ample practice also from this course. So it's not the issue of what you know; it's the issue of how they present the question, and are you familiar with that structure. So it's always good to go through the multiple choice questions before going for the exam. So at the end of this course, when you decide to go for the exam, or if you decide to go for the NRC exam, you can actually go through some practical questions as well. That will be a good idea. Practice questions are not part of this course. It's the course to teach you the technology and to make you comfortable with the content that is there into the CCNP exam. But you can always find many CCNP practice questions. They call it dumps. Some older ones also will be okay, because we don't want the latest one. We are not trying to cram and pass the exam. We just want to practice as much as possible that format as well. So you can find them on the internet as well, right? Just a second, guys. All right. So, yeah, topology is already set in EVNG as I was saying. And also the lab files will be sent every week for the next week. So you will have the lab files in advance. So YK, to answer your question, at least a week advance, you will get the technology files for the next week as well. And solution files will be sent along with the lab file, as I mentioned. And during the off days, you are encouraged to do the labs again and feel free to contact me or Facebook or under the comment section of the recorded video, right? Speak of EVNG, you will see that EVNG works on VMware. Topology is already set, as I mentioned earlier. And the OVA file that I sent you is more than enough for anything else. So you just need to import that and you will have everything that you need for the rest of the NRC codes. Of course, for Encore, there will be a separate one. How much RAM do you need to have? So if you're using a desktop or a laptop, then I would recommend to have a desktop or laptop of at least 8 gig of RAM. But if you're also planning to go for Encore later, there might be some SD-WAN practicals into that. And for software-defined WAN, it's better to have 16 gig of RAM, right? So if you want to just invest one time, or if you have plans to upgrade the RAM in your desktop, uh, consider 16 or 32 gig so that you are good for all the way up to CCIE as well. But for NRC, 8 gig RAM will be enough. And remember, I don't mean that you need to assign 8 gig to EVNG. I mean, your system should have 8 gig of RAM, and then out of which you can assign 5 to 6 gig to EVNG, and that should be fine. And don't worry, EVNG doesn't use all of it immediately. It gradually starts using more and more as you start booting and using more and more devices. So don't worry, it's not going to immediately hog all your RAM. And you see that after importing the OVA, you should always go to the settings of the CCNP OVA or the CCNP EVNG uh, into the VMware EVNG image, and you should change the interface type to NET if it is not already done. This is very important. The reason is because we want to make sure that we always get the IP address that we can open into the browser. And the net setting will make sure that we get the IP address from the system, from the host system. So you see on the right hand side that memory, you can give anything depending on how much memory you have. Like I have 128 gigs, so I can give more as well. But if you have like 8 gig, then you can give it 4 gig or 6 gig. That should be enough. If you have 16 gig, you can give 8 or 12 gig to this EVNG. Just scroll this up or down or change the value here. Make sure you do it according to your system, right? After importing the OVR. Second thing, you see the selected part network adapter should be type net before you boot the system. All right, I see a question from Obit. I am not able to download EVNG. So if the OVA that I sent you the link for, you need to download it from Dropbox. So it's a big file. So you might need some time, or you might need a stable internet connection. So are you having the issue of like, is it stopping at some point while it is downloading? If that's the case, then that's the internet issue. Then it is getting reset because the internet is not consistent until the file is completely downloaded. So, YK, did you also try to download? Were you able to download it correctly? Okay. Okay, yeah. So, Obed, it does look like that internet is consistent when you are using it, because we are not using it consistently. Consistent means continuously. We are not using internet every single second. But what happens is that when you are trying to download something from Dropbox, and if it, especially if it's a big file, it's a single session. So even a few milliseconds of reset or a network going down or unreachable, it can actually break that session, and the file will not be downloaded because of that. So let me know what exact error are you getting when you are trying to download it. Is it like connection reset or could not download, or does it download, but when you try to import it, does it give you any error? Uh, because I think for NRC, I will exactly check what is the size of the file, and you are supposed to have that particular file size. Let me check right now. Just give me a minute, guys. I'm just checking right now how exactly what is the size of the NRC file. It's I think around 5.1 gig CCNP NRC file. So should not take actually more than one file, because generally if it's a very big file, generally you need to split it up. But yeah, you can try again, Obed, if in case if you are still facing issue, maybe I will re-upload it on Dropbox and send you another link and we can check it. Or if it is still not working, then we can try to break it into multiple partitions, smaller partitions as well, like 4 or 5 partitions of 1 gig each, so that you can download them separately. So we can try that. But yeah, you can try again one more time and see if it works. So about myself, as I mentioned already, that I have been in training industry for more than 16 years, and I have done 2 CCIs. One is in routing and switching, and one is in service provider. Uh, and I have been training CCIE specifically for more than 12 years out of the 16 years of training experience. So CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE, all these different courses. So Cisco mainly being the primary topic or primary technology that I teach. And I have extensive practical experience as well as a consultant to various organizations, some of the service providers also. But I only work as a consultant. I don't actually work full time for them. So only if they have some design issues or some technical issues with DMVPA or SD-WAN or MPLS, then I can take a look and actually give them some suggestion about that. So depending on that, I also include this practical knowledge or the newest information that I get. I try to include in our courses as well, that can help the students to understand what exactly is going on and how practically we can implement some certain scenarios. And as I mentioned, although it sounds a little bit cliche, but training is my passion. Really, for Christian and me, you will see we have a small company, but we want to make sure that if you are joining our courses, you get some value from it and you feel more confident with the technology by the time you finish our courses. So that's why we go slow pace, but we make sure that we go incredibly in depth and making sure that we try to break it down to as simple or as easy to follow as possible, because the idea is to make sure that it becomes interesting for you also to do the practicals and solidifying your concepts, right? So let's talk about some of the frequently asked questions, so that in case if you also have those questions in mind, they will be answered here. And then of course you can ask more questions on Facebook group or uh, below the recording as well, anytime you have any more questions of the session, right? So do I need any previous networking knowledge? So although CCNP is the second level, you can see that you need to have basics of IP addressing or networking, like what exactly is IP addressing, what is a TCP/IP model, OSI model, and some of the information about the basics of CCNA. But to be honest, uh, basics of networking is more than enough for this course, because when we start with the routing and switching, you will see that I will start from scratch, assuming that you don't know about that topic at all, and we'll go all the way to the CCNP level, so that if you know about the topic, you will clear any loopholes, and if you don't know about the topic, no worries, we are going to cover this from scratch, right? So yes, basics of networking you need, but not too much. Like, you don't need the complete CCNA level of knowledge. You don't need to know the routing protocols and switching protocols already, right? All right. So will my PC support the EVNG software? So this is another thing. We recommend you to use Windows PC. So if you don't have a Windows, we might not be able to support you on Linux or macOS, because we don't use those for EVNG. So if there are any issues, you might have to go to the EVNG website and try to see if there are any solution or from the internet. But if it's a Windows-based machine, it will actually work better with VMware, as we have seen and experienced. So especially for SD-WAN and all these, they actually do not work very smoothly if you are using it on other platforms like VirtualBox or something. So that's why VMware is recommended, and Windows PC is recommended. So is joining live session mandatory? So yes, it is recommended that you consistently join the live session, because in live session, of course, you can watch the recording later as well. But in the live session, you will actually feel the obligation to go and join every week for these, and you will see me solving the issues, and you can ask the question right there instead of waiting for the answer on the Facebook or the comment section. So live session is actually recommended, and it is encouraged you to. We encourage you to join the live sessions every week. And will there be a new practice lab every week? So yes, most of the weeks you will see we will have a new practice lab. Sometimes if the topic is very detailed, we might actually go through complete theory. Like it's in maybe in OSPF or in BGP, I want to go in more detail of the theory. I might take the complete session time for the theory, and then next week we can do the lab. Or maybe I will just send you the lab so that you can try it, and next week I will do it as well. But roughly you will see there will be one lab per session. So couple of labs every week, but sometime there might be only one lab every week, because one lab that week, because if we are going into more in-depth theory in that particular week. So what if I get stuck in a lab and can't find the solution? So that's why I also send you the solution file along with the lab file. So you can always refer to that. That's the first line of um troubleshooting. Second line of troubleshooting would be to watching the recorded video again to gain the insights, or if you miss something from my training, you can watch it. And then, of course, within the training, I also do the lab, so you will be able to see how exactly that point is done. But if you have the question about why is it done in this way, the way I did it, then you can definitely ask on the Facebook group or under the comment section of the pre-recorded video. How do I prepare for the exam? So as I mentioned earlier, that for exam you need two things. You need the foundational knowledge and the practical knowledge that we are going to cover in this course. So you are covered for that part. You don't need to worry. And then comes a little bit of the knowledge of the structure, the way they ask questions. So for that, you can use any third-party exam question tools on internet and download the exam questions. Or if you want, I can send you the older exam questions as well. They are not the latest one, but anyway, that's not the objective. Objective is to make sure that you understand the structure. So at the end of the course, I can send you those old uh, dump files where you have the multiple choice questions and drag and drop questions that they generally ask into the exam, right? So that is, or you can also find the latest one on the internet on third-party tools. And will I have the opportunity to ask questions during the live session? Yes. So in every live session, at the end of the session, we will unmute and then we can have a quick Q&A session. Although this will not be as much detailed as you can actually ask directly on the Facebook group or under the comment section. But yes, we will have a short Q&A session into every live session as well. What if I have a doubt during the week when there is no live session? So that time you can actually send the message on the Facebook group or under the comment section of the pre-recorded message, pre-recorded session. Will this course be enough to pass the exam? So yes, as I was mentioning earlier, you don't need to read any more books. The content that we are going to cover will be more than enough for the exam. But having said that, if you want to read the books, I recommend Cisco Press books, and also going through some exam questions before you go for the exam. And finally, will this course be enough to move to CCIE? Absolutely. That's the reason why we have the NRC first, and then we will tackle the NCORE, because NCORE is the qual exam or qualification exam also for CCIE. So that's a great leeway to go directly to, or natural progression to go to the CCIE after that. So it will be actually a good start for you to move to CCIE. So having said that, let's get started. If you have any questions, I will unmute you guys now so that you can ask me. Also, let me see. I think there is a message Obed has sent, some output. So let me check that out. Just a second. Okay, yeah. So just a second. All right. So Obed, I see the message. You have a VMware workstation. I think it's the workstation Pro. It's not the player. And the error it is saying is that your license has expired. You must have a valid license to power on the virtual machine. So it's not the OVA issue, it's the VMware issue that your VMware license has expired. You need to actually either renew the license from VMware, or you have to use the VMware Workstation Player, which is a free version. The version that you are using right now, I can see, is the Workstation 9.0. It's, I think, Workstation Pro, and you need to actually um, install the VMware Workstation Player if this one is not working. And also, I don't see the EVNG OVA here. I see the another VM with the ODOI VM. I don't know if that's the EVNG VM, you renamed it or something. I don't know, but it's the issue with the VMware Workstation. It's not the issue with the OVA download. So let me allow you guys to unmute.
So, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Can I share my screen real quick or something?
This is actually a recorded session for just the introduction. So I think this might not be the good place to do that. But what we can do of it is we can have a separate Zoom session or separate team viewer session so that I can check exactly what is the
Okay.
issue.
Okay.
So, so let's take it to the email. Let me know on the email what time would be good for you, and I will send you the details of how we can do it, like TeamViewer or any. There is another called Anycast we can use, so one of the software to share the screen, and we can check it out there, right? Because I do have some other sessions after this, so it might not be immediately right now, but we can decide a date and time, and then I can check it out this week
Okay.
sometime. Thank you so much.
So I think I've been able to the player. It said okay. The VMware Workstation 17 player expired license. Now, create new virtual machine, open virtual machine, download virtual machine. Which one do I hit?
So you have to click on the open, and then you need to go and select the OVA that you have downloaded for
Okay.
EVNG.
Okay. All right.
Right. Right. So any other question, guys?
I have a question. On the
Yeah, Mike.
EVNG, if you create your own lab, what devices are available to use? Just virtual router and switch, or is there like ASA and Nexus switches can we use?
Yes, actually, you will see that for us, we have only routers and switches available because there is a procedure that you need to copy the images and then you need to license them. Or if they are KMU images, then KMU images you don't need to license, you can directly use. So in our case, we have only routers and switches. But let's say when we go to Encore, we will also have SD-WAN devices already there. But if you want ASA or Linux or Windows machine or anything else, then you can go to the EVNG website, and there are tutorials on exactly how you can import these devices and how you can start using it for any kind of Juniper devices as well and all these things. So as a matter of fact, let me send you the URL here in the chat.
Okay.
So you can actually go to that URL, and you will see it has the information about all the different images that it supports. Yeah. Oh. I've just sent it into the chat.
Oh, okay, that one right there. Okay.
Yes. So if you click on that, you will see that there is a list of different type of devices it supports. So one thing you will notice is that the iOS image you will have to acquire somehow yourself, because EVNG is just the emulator. It doesn't give you the iOS images for ASA or anything else like Juniper images. You have to acquire them yourself, and then you can use the procedure which is shown there to implement this if you want to do it. But again, for this class, you will not need it, but you want to do something else on your own, you can actually follow this procedure. That will be very straightforward.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem. So thanks, guys. Have a good night, and I'll see you next week. And also, Obed, we will make sure that your OVA is properly set up, so we can have a. If you still have the issue, you can let me know on the email, and then we can take it from
So how
there.
do I reach you? Send you an email or?
Yes, for this one, you can send me an email because we can discuss about the specifics of setting up the OVA first time. So you can send me an email on arpit@karatul.com. I think I have sent you OVA from that email, so you can just reply to that one.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you guys, and good night.
All right.
Bye
All
bye.
right. Thank you, Bob.